Hi everyone! This video is about the questioning methodology I use in my courses. My questioning methodology is similar to the Socratic method. The Socratic method has the teacher asking students questions and then using dialogue, the response to the questions, and further questioning to really deeply investigate the topic that they're studying. So my questioning methodology is similar, but with my methodology, it's the students who ask the questions. Like the Socratic method, asking the questions allows you to go deeper into whatever subject it is that you're studying. So if you think about it, questioning is something we're doing all the time. Most of the time we don't really notice that we're doing it. This is one of the reasons that this technique is effective. So think about this. Say you need to take the bus somewhere, and at the particular bus stop that you need to take the bus, say you're going home and you're going to take the bus. There's two buses you could take. One is going to get you closer to home, maybe involve less of a walk from the bus stop to home. The other one will put you further from home. When you come to the bus stop, you realize that the bus that drops you off further from home is going to show up first, and that the bus that takes you closer to home is going to show up second. So the question you might be asking yourself is, well, which bus should I take? If I take the first bus, I'll get closer to home. No, I'll get further from home. If I take the second bus, I'm going to get closer to home. Do I want to wait and take the second bus? So you're already asking yourself questions. Now, these are just normal questions that pop into your mind. How do you answer them, right? Because that's kind of the purpose of asking the questions, is to come up with answers afterwards. So how do you answer the questions about the bus? Many different things, right? From your own experience. Like maybe you know that if you take that first bus, it's going to put you far from home, but you're actually going to get home sooner because the second bus is always late and it's always crowded, and sometimes you can't even get on it. So even though it would put you closer to home, you may actually have to wait for another bus anyway. So what I'm saying here is that your experience informs the way you're going to answer your own questions. It also informs the questions you might want to ask. So that's another good reason to have the students do the questioning, because you're the ones who are trying to investigate the topic. And so this helps you figure out, what are you interested in with the topic. So the way it works in our course is that each week in the weekly discussion, I give you some sort of a question prompt. I'm getting used to doing this too, so sometimes my question prompts aren't that great, but I try to come up with a good question prompt. And so, like my bus example, when I have a question prompt, hopefully questions will come to mind for you. With the bus example, of course, you realize that all that questioning and the answers you give yourself, that happens so fast in your head and you don't think about it. So the questioning technique also involves some metacognition on our part. We have to think about the fact that we're asking questions and think about how are we going to answer our questions. So, how do you get the questions? Where do they come from? How do I come up with a good question? So the goal of our questions here is to eventually have a question that requires enough of an interpretation to answer that you could use it to write a decent essay. So you need to have a question that's going to require you to make interpretations based on either your experience or the material you've been reading in the class or some research. So the best way to do this, I think, if we were in person, we would be brainstorming together as a class, but we're not in person, so we can't brainstorm together. This is why I came up with the idea of the discussions. If each one of us contributes some questions, then we'll have enough to where we can see what is the class kind of interested in learning about this particular material. So my suggestion for doing your questions would be, once you read the question prompt, and hopefully you've also read through all the material in the module. The question prompt has to do with material you've read in the module. The material you read in the module gives you a little bit of background so that when you get to the question prompt, it makes sense to you and you can come up with some good questions. Still, the brain needs to warm up. It doesn't just suddenly jump to that best question ever, right? So my suggestion is that once you've read the material in the module and you read the question prompt, maybe you just sit for 5 minutes and write down every question that comes to mind about the question prompt. So that way, if you start with questions that are simple, like, oh, why did she wear a blue dress? Is there a meaning to blue? Why did the writer decide to put the blue dress in there? Does blue, perhaps, is it symbolic of something? Serenity, depression? See, so you can see that I can come up with questions and that one question can lead to another. And sometimes if you allow yourself to go through that process, you're going to get some good questions. So that's my suggestion. The discussions require you to share 2 of your questions. The goal of the questions is to come up with a question that I, the teacher, would like to write an essay about. So I'm looking for questions that are asking me to interpret material that we've had in class. So I hope that's helpful, and I wish you happy questioning. Thank you.